the army men and the soldiers. Thank you. Right now, speak.
Procedure.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I raise on a point of procedure. I have listened to and read the statement by the Minister for Security. It all zeroes down on the facts that resulted from the arrest and charging of our colleagues, members of Parliament. Right Honorable Speaker, under Rule 72, Sub-Rule 5, I call upon you to make a ruling and to agree with me that debating the minister's statement tantamounts sub judice because the matters are already before a court. Now we are here determining whether who should be charged, who has been charged with what. Are we trying to preempt the judgment of the court? So I call upon you, the Right Honorable Speaker, under Rule 72, Sub-Rule 5, to agree with me that debating this statement would be sub judice. Thank you.
Honorable members, when I was guiding, I think the Honorable Semujo actually, I said, let's debate if there's anything left to debate. And it's the same principle I'm going to use now. If you look at the minister's statement, the way it has been presented, whatever is left for debate that will not contravene the sub judice rule can be debated, if there's anything left that can be debated. That means we have to be careful in not falling in the trap of beginning to discuss the substance of what is already before court. So, members that are rising to debate this statement, bear that in mind. Because if I hear two more crossing into areas that are sub judice, I will terminate this debate. Procedure?
Procedure. Procedure, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, the very Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I listen attentively to the statement by the Minister, right from the word go up to the end. And that's why I'm agreeing with my colleague, the Honorable from that the Minister's statement in its entirety borders on the sub judice rule. And my point of procedure would be that would it not be therefore procedure right, Right Honorable Speaker, to wait for a complete on the report of the so that we now go into the nitty-gritties of the details of members' rights, the issues of who battered our members of parliament, whether they will be brought to book, because, Right Honorable Speaker.
Point of order.
Mr. Speaker, you have just ruled on how we should proceed and debate. Is the member in order to challenge your ruling?
No, it's not. It's not. Honorable member for Umpadire, you are not in order to try and debate my ruling. Honorable members, the issue is this. If there is an aspect of this statement that can be debated, debate it. So, please let's debate those aspects. Yes. Please.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to debate the statement titled Ministerial Statement on the State of Security by the Honorable Minister of Security. First, let me note that if the description of security by the minister is this narrow, that this country is in trouble, that the whole ministry sat down, and this is my opinion, and what he thinks the security of the security situation is what statement and why this country is in trouble. Point number two, I am happy, nevertheless, that the Honorable Eddie Tumwine is the one now holding the portfolio of security and is the one reading this statement. Why? The Honorable Tumwine is part of a group that is allergic to elections and election loss. And you remember what you did when you lost the elections in 1980. You went, invaded the barracks, and that's how you were shot. You invaded the barracks called Kabamba on 6 February 1981.
Point of order.
Switch off there. Right Honorable Speaker, I have been in this parliament since 1986. My CV is on the internet. My record is well known in this country. The history of Uganda is very clear. The members of UPM, UPC, DP, and other parties who stood and participated in the elections of 1980 are known. In 1980, I was an instructor in Masinde Barracks. I did not participate in the political elections. I did not lose any election. And we have been fed of so many lies. We have been fed on so many assumptions. We have been fed on unfactual and researched by people who don't take their time to get their facts right. As honorable members who are disciplined in this house, we have kept quiet. We have obeyed the rules of the game. Members disobey it with impunity and go ahead to say things they don't know about. Another member of the floor here talked of how I was injured in Kabamba on this floor. I was not injured in Kabamba. I am giving examples of where so many lies, where people are not caring to deceive the country and the world. Is Honorable Semuju in order to continue propagating wrong, unresearched, misleading, unsubstantiated and inflammatory statements in this house to deceive the public. Is he in order?
I have absolutely no contest to the testimony of General Edith Mokine that he was not shot in Kabamba. And the Honorable Member for Kira Municipality had stated as a matter of fact that he was shot in Kabamba. Now you know that he was not shot in Kabamba. Would you like to correct the record and proceed?
Mr. Speaker, I knew it was going to be very difficult because it is his opinion against mine. If the Honorable Ed Tumwine was shot at from a different location, I am sorry. The point I was making, Mr. Speaker, is that the Honorable Ed Tumwine is part of a group that went to fight protesting the outcome of 1981 elections. Their response to losing elections has been, at least he can't deny, resort to violence. The Democratic Party under Dr. Paul Kawanga Semogerere, whose victory it is reported was stolen, remained civil people in this parliament, was actually the leader of opposition. The group he supported that won only one seat in Kasese, they are the ones who went to wage a war, and nearly 1 million people died in Ruwero. Nearly 1 million people died in Ruwero. I will be reluctant to be lectured by someone whose response has always been resort to violence, to come here and tell me
point of order.
Right Honorable Speaker, it is the duty of the members of this House to discipline ourselves. It is the duty of this House to remain consistent with your ruling when you make a ruling. Is the Honorable in order, after you have ruled about information he doesn't seem to know about, to say that those who went to the bush were those who lost in the elections, when I had given him information and the public that those who had lost the elections were those. There were many who had not even participated in those elections. There were those who were not in the political campaigns. There were many who were in universities. There were many who were young. There were many who were not, who were in all parties. Because I should give you information if you don't have it. There were people from UPC, from DP, from other parties who went to the bush. And is he in order to continue misinforming the public that it is only those who lost who went to the bush when you have already ruled him out of order?
Honorable members, maybe the Honorable General Elliot Muine could stop this line of debate by stating to us why he went to the bush.
I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Now, I have never been given such a wonderful opportunity. In this house,
Please use about 3 minutes.
okay. With those restrictions, I'll try to be very, very brief. From 1971, when Idi Amin took power in this country, the people of Uganda were being killed, killed every day, everywhere. The people had to run out of this country in thousands. Very many went into exile. The economy had collapsed. The 79 war, in which I also participated, I did not go to the bush before we had joined the struggle to remove Idi Amin. And we defeated Idi Amin, established relative order, but alas, the armed forces of the time continued killing people. Not in the, when you don't compare incomparables. At the time, shops would close at 3 o'clock. Roadblocks and everywhere there was, so some of you are very young, you didn't go through that experience. The situation in the whole country was very, very dangerous. We never had, the parliament was not as free as this. The speaker gave me an opportunity.
Point of order.
Right Honorable Speaker, in 1980, I was 20 years. Right Honorable Speaker, the reason why a member stood up was to tell us why he went to the bush. Is he in order to continue lamenting about Amin, who never went to the bush, without telling us why he went to the bush? Is he in order?
Are we listening to the same speech? Because I thought that is what he was doing. He's giving his reasons why he went to the bush.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. It shows we need more time even to learn our own history. The freedoms of the people of Uganda to elect their own leaders, like we have done, were at stake and was not there. We went to the bush to give the people of Uganda, first of all, to empower them, educate them, train them, give them experience, discuss with them, live with them, speak about 4 questions: where Uganda had come from, where Uganda had reached, where Uganda needed to go, and how it needed to go there. We needed to sit down and discuss the politics of Uganda. And we sat from morning to evening, evening to midnight, to discuss those 4 subjects. And we needed to make sure we were in a safe place where we could not only defend ourselves, but could have time to discuss, plan, prepare, and rescue the people of Uganda like we did. And Uganda since then.
Point of order.
Okay, it's on now.
Honorable Speaker, on matters of history, one has to be very specific and very factual, aware that some persons could have been there during the time we are talking about. So be extremely careful when you talk about history. And I want to tell you that you, the people that went to educate the masses, got only one seat in Parliament. One seat. Let it be recorded in Parliament. They got one seat through, yes, one seat. And President Yoweri was defeated by Sam Kutesa, not by any other person. So, Right Honorable Speaker, when you talk about election and winning election, not power. That election was won without shooting a gun, without intimidating anybody, without army on the street, without any security forces on the street. Not like in Arua. You were not there. I was there. I was there. Is it in order? Is it in order to talk about an election when we had even the late Boniface Byanyima in this parliament on the position? We had other members of parliament, including Paul Semogere, on the position in parliament. Is it in order for you to make it appear as if there was no legitimate election? There was no legitimate elected government? Is it in order for you just to go and shoot buses on the street and claim victory over it?
Would you like
you came to power on people's blood,
Honorable.
And you are now...
Honorable members, I'm required to rule on this point of order. In 1980, I was not able to vote because I was below age. So the goings on and what was happening, I could not follow very much. Now, so many years after, I am being called upon to rule on a factual matter of a matter that happened where I was not. I am not able to rule, but in case they are factual, please take note. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I will try to summarize.
Please, Honorable.
I am finishing. I'm finishing. The Right Honorable Speaker, you allowed me to give the reasons why I went to the...
Let me recast. Let me recast. The issue is, honorable members, this is what happened. There was a point of order on which I ruled. There was another point of order which related to factual matter that was not within my knowledge and I could not rule. I asked the honorable member to explain, to give us reasons why he went to the bush, because I was contested. I gave him 3 minutes. But in the course of his speech, in the 3 minutes, you members kept coming up. Please wind up in 1 minute. 1 minute.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. In 1 minute, we went to the bush, as I've told you, to mobilize the Ugandans, to take power, to shape the economy of Uganda fresh, to establish democracy that has brought leaders from the LC1, like the ones we have recently elected throughout the whole country, to give power to the LC3s, to give power to the districts, to give power to the members of parliament who are here, for all of you to come, and to debate in freedom, to debate in harmony, to build a strong army, a pro-people army that is keeping the peace of the country, to develop the economy and the education of the people. I cannot get it from such a person like Honorable, because the clarification he doesn't know, and that was the basis, and it is on the same principle, Right Honorable Speaker, that I am appealing to you and all young people. Let us talk, let us discuss, let us debate in peace and harmony that was established by our revolution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thought that context would guide me as I debate the statement by the Honorable Edith Mwine, and I deliberately went for history. What we are dealing with now, and this is a matter that is very serious, that each one of us must reflect on, is the militarization of politics. When you lose an election, the Constitution provides for avenues for seeking redress. But because of the history of resorting to violence when you've lost, that's why in Arua SFC became the arbiter. All the elections the president has mentioned, and I have read statements he has made, are elections that he lost. Not only is he attacking members of parliament, he's also attacking electoral commission. That's what you must reflect on. I am happy another revolutionary is here. He's just gone out. Major General Pecos Kutesa. If you read his book, Uganda's Revolution, and he's speaking about how they formed a group of terrorists together with Brigadier Matayo Charigonzi. We are talking about people who have the appetite for violence each time they are losing an argument, each time they are losing an election. If you went to the world to come and empower Ugandans to choose their leaders, why should you be aggrieved when they are not choosing your own choice? You are quarreling over Bujiri, you are quarreling over Jinja. I was in Jinja as the chairman for Honorable Mwiru's campaign.
Honorable.
Each time you have had, as I went up, Mr. Speaker, this violence follows the president. There was peace in Arua before he went. So there was peace in Jinja before he came. The moment he came to Jinja, our campaign headquarters was raided, everybody loaded on trucks, driven to Kayunga, because the president doesn't want to see a loss. And this is how you've been exporting violence from one area to another. I have spoken to Honorable General Edith Mwine in private. We've had a conversation. And I thought he had moved from that belligerent stone. Let me tell you, these guns that you carry and use them to terrorize people, the past governments thought these guns were very heavy. You took younger people to carry them. Don't ever deceive yourself that you are the last to carry these guns. Continue using them to terrorize people, beat them. One other time people will carry them, they'll use them against you. Therefore, my final plea.
Point of order.
You know, Right Honorable Speaker, if you want to use the opportunity of Parliament, use it for telling the truth. I would like him to tell me, and I demand that he will explain to this House, when I sat with him in private, discussed with him the issues he's talking about, under what circumstances I discussed with him. The last time I had a discussion with Honorable Nganda was on NTV, not in private. And we never discussed what his right. Is he in order to continue peddling lies?
Honorable members, you know, this is the people's house, the people of Uganda. One time I said that if this country had only 450 members, they would be the ones here themselves dealing with these matters. But because there are many, they chose representatives. And whatever we do here, we should really do it on their behalf. That should be our guiding principle. You all remember John McCain? John McCain was a U.S. senator. He fought in the wars in Vietnam. He was captured and later released. He became a senator. He contested twice for presidency of the U.S. Last year, he was diagnosed with the cancer of the brain. And he knew he was going to die. So one day, after he had kind of recovered properly, he came back to Parliament, to the Senate. And when he got in, the entire Senate stood up, giving him a standing ovation for this stroke of patriotism that he had demonstrated. Sick to the point of death, but he walked into the chamber of the Senate to articulate issues of the welfare of the American people. When he got up to speak, this is what he said. Let me quote it. I hope we can again rely on humility, on our need to cooperate, on our dependence on each other to learn how to trust each other again. And by so doing, better serve the people who elected us. Stop listening to the bombastic loudmouths on the radio and the television and the internet. To hell with them. They don't want anything done for the public good. That is Senator McCain. And I say this really as a tribute to him for the kind of leadership he demonstrated. He voted against his party many times because he thought the national good was being defeated by partisan politics. I wish we could adopt this kind of things. I wish we could demonstrate the spirit that brings this country together. I wish we could propagate rather than propagating violence for the rest of the country. Is it so difficult to do things in peace? Please, honorable members, let's recast how we debate. Because whatever we do here sends a signal across the country. If we are showing tendencies of violence here, we are transmitting it to the general public. And we cannot expect anything better. We are the leaders. Let's be leaders. Let's lead, please, honorable members. Honorable member, it is 1 hour. The minister's debate is supposed to be 1 hour. This is terminated. Next item.
Item number 4 on the order paper.
Motion for adoption of the report of the ad hoc committee on the investigation into the condition of members and other suspects arrested in the run-up to the by-election for Arua municipality.
Honorable members, in the public gallery this afternoon, we have pupils and teachers of Farm Foundation Nursery and Primary School and Kanyum Children's Center, Nursery and Primary School, Kumi District, represented by Honorable Orot Ismail and Honorable Monica Amoding. They are here to observe the proceedings. Please join me in welcoming them. You are welcome. Procedure. 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 This way.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Right Honorable Speaker.
Procedure.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. You've called for the presentation of the report of the ad hoc committee. This report was uploaded to our iPads. All of us have it. When I look at the terms of references, terms of reference indicate, among others, whether indeed the suspects in detention were in Gulu, the physical condition of the detained suspects, the detainees, detained suspects were being respected. My understanding of this and my reading of the report, one, indicates that it is already overtaken by events, but most importantly, it is sub judice because the report presents matters which are already before court, and the presentation of this report will clearly delve into the of whatever is already in court.
Mr. Speaker, this matter has been raised. And I raised this matter. Our rules don't allow us to debate in anticipation. No report of Parliament has been presented. I know the Honorable Kafuz likes corners. I am on order, so there cannot be order on order. So is the Honorable Kafuz in order to debate in anticipation, in total violation of our rules?
Honorable Member, the member was not debating. He rose on the procedural matter. Yes, but he's raised on the procedural matter. And the point he's making is what he has said. You are saying that by raising this point of order, is debating in anticipation. I think he has just raised a point of procedure, and it's a procedural matter that I would not want to handle this way. It's the procedural matter that I'd like to put to you and seek guidance. That issues that are in the report are overtaken by events. What is remaining is substantially before court. That is what he's raising as a point of procedure. Can we debate that briefly? Just that point. Whether this report is debatable. Be presented as debatable in the circumstances that he has stated. Yes, ask members when you speak later.
very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to support the point raised by Honorable Kafuzi to the extent that this matter is sub judice, and add my voice to his voice to invite you to rule as such. Mr. Speaker, sir, to the extent that terms of reference command the committee to establish whether the suspects were in Gulu. To that extent, we are talking about the scene of crime. To that extent, we are talking about the place of detention. I'm giving my contribution. Yes.
Point of order. Microphone.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For a very long time, I have rendered my blanket trust to the Honorable Adolf Mwesige by reason of his seniority to me in many respects. First, as a lawyer, second, as a parliamentarian, and even as a matter of age. I am now getting tempted to withdraw the blanket trust. And the point of order I am up to raise is whether the honorable member is in order to give false facts about the scene of crime being Gulu, whereas not. Indeed, from the statement of the minister previously read, the purported scene of crime is in Arua. Secondly, of the report which he has sent and the term of reference, if he has read it. But beyond that, to mislead the House by saying whether the suspects were in Gulu are considered to be sub judice, whether it is part of the trial.
Your Honorable Minister, from the facts that have been presented to this Parliament, like even in the terms of reference, even the heading of the report, and all refer to events that happened in Arua. Honorable Minister, I am sure, having been Minister of Local Government, you know the different locations of where Arua is and where Gulu is. Would you like to explain really what you were saying?
Mr. Speaker, as you know, is a chain of events. It's a chain of events. You cannot discuss criminal procedure in isolation of the chain in which the events took place. If I started with Gulu, and maybe that was not appropriate to members, I'm sorry. But the fact of the matter is that there are events relating to this case, including alleged torture, and the trial itself, which took place in Gulu. I was about to go to Makindye. Because yes, please, give me time. If you look at this matter, you have to talk about Arua, you have to talk about Gulu, you have talked about Makindye, you may have to talk about Rubaga Hospital as well. Yes, because those Kirud Hospital as well, because all those are venues which have a bearing on different aspects which took place around the case. So my point of sub judice, Mr. Speaker, is that to the extent that all these things are revealed in the report, the alleged torture, the happenings in Arua, the whole context being in Arua, and all these matters are before the court of law for inquiry. I think this House has a duty to leave the matter to court so that court can handle it conclusively.
Order. Microphone.
The person who arrested me from the courtyard of this house, maybe to take his seat as I raise my point of... It's common decency, Honorable Rukutana. Right, Honorable Speaker. What constitutes a criminal charge is within the four corners of a charge sheet. The charge sheet is self-contained, talking about treason. Nowhere in any court in Uganda is the issue of torture pending determination by any court. No facts, no evidence, nothing. To the extent that somebody wants to talk about the ingredients of the charge of treason as it stands before the court, I will defend any member who says no discussion, and I will agree. To the extent that the terms of reference of this committee are, one, establish whether the suspects are in Gulu. How sub judice is that? Two, whether any rights have been violated. Where is it? In the criminal court. In Gulu. And when a member talks about a series of events, unless he lays on table any charge sheet in court that talks about events beyond Arua and in Gulu, is he in order, therefore, to continue misleading this House with his seniority and the respect that he's abusing? I was just about to say something else, but I will not.
No, but you see, this is where I always have difficulties. I have looked at, previously, I looked at a typical treason case charge sheet. And it is drafted in such a way that it covers so many places, at various places, including this. I have not looked at this charge sheet in particular. I have not seen it. So now, how do I rule? Well, I have not seen the charge sheet. I have not seen it. So I cannot rule on the basis of a charge sheet that I have not seen. Probably if there was a copy, I would look at it now, so that it can help me with what I should say. Yes. Procedure?
Honorable Speaker, I thank you. Very carefully, as you quoted McCain, he was in the Senate. Houses of representatives are firewalls for democracy. They are the last resort where all matters are debated. Whether people want to pour off, it can be a psychological relief. The last that can happen to any parliament is to invent technicalities to avert debate. Because the cornerstone of a democracy is our capacity to debate the hardest matter in our country. Right, Honorable Speaker, the procedural point I was raising was to the effect that in all that we are trying to do, I see this parliament failing in its cardinal duty to be a place where people can debate any matter. Because when I look at what we are trying to debate about the report that people are trying to subvert, that it should not be debated, it has nothing to do with the charge sheet. Absolutely nothing, except that people want to shy away from the truth. And when we shy away from the truth will catch us with us one day, one time. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, the point of procedure I'm trying to raise on is that within your powers, and I know you are more than capable of doing the needful, is to avail members of parliament, one, to hear what happened to their members. What happened to their members?
Point of order.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, this House and members are aware and have seen the report that is in the iPads. And Right Honourable Speaker, I believe that report is not authentic. Reason being, the report has not been signed by the chairperson of the committee. Number two, there is a member who was not part of the select committee who signed. Therefore, is our colleague, my colleague, in order to push this House to make the report be read.
Which member was not a member?
Honorable, the one who was not in the committee.
Who was not a member but signed?
We have Atiku Bernard. Atiku Bernard, he signed. On the first page of the report. On the first page of the report. Bernard Atiku, he signed. Yes, he signed on the first page of the report. So is the report authentic? It's not. It is not. Therefore, it's my colleague in order to push this House to discuss a report which is not authentic, which is misleading this House.
Honorable members, it's the Honorable, there was a procedural matter. There was a procedural matter which was being concluded. Then now there's a point of order, which I must rule on. The rules as to authenticity of reports, order, the rules governing the authenticity of reports are clear. It has to be signed by a quorum of members. How many members were on this committee? How many signed? The report is authentic. On the membership of the Honorable Article Bernard, on the issue of the membership of the Honorable Article Bernard, I am in possession of a letter authored by the Speaker who constituted the committee in writing. And the Honorable Bernard Article is a member of that committee. So if those are the grounds for this point of order, then it's not sustainable. Can I finish with the procedural matter that was being raised by the member, then I come to you, Land Deputy Attorney General. Please wind up. No, are you finished?
Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, I was trying to appeal to members of Parliament.
No, you are addressing me.
Yes, I was raising,
on the point of procedure.
appealing to you as the Speaker of Parliament that you are more than capable at any time of the journey of this session to determine when matters will become sub judice. But in as far as one, for instance, in the report about torture of members, we need to know what happened from the committee, what they saw. In as far as determining whether their rights were abused, we are required to know, because what happens to an individual member the next day may happen to me and to the rest of the country. Those matters are not in any way procedural. I see the sensitivity of the matter, and I'm alive to the fact that there is tension in the country. But the only way to diffuse the tension in the country is for the House of Representatives to speak boldly and clearly and honestly about what could have happened. That's why I appeal to you that much as there could be those other contention, in your own judgment, let you be the guide to which you will steer the boat very clearly so that we can hear this report and so that we determine where there was torture or rights of members were abused. That is the cardinal role of a parliament.
Thank you. Thank you, honorable members. You see, honorable members, sometimes really I'm at a loss about how consistent we are in what we say. Because last week I made the same plea that this is the house of last resort. Didn't I? I pleaded with the members when the honorable member for Remiyaga raised the point that when there was problem in the kingdom of Uganda, they had to recall parliament from recess. When there was another problem somewhere, they had to call parliament in recess. And I urge you, honorable members, that the day we have no other place to go, what will the people do? And honorable members, you unanimously told me we could not proceed against that plea. Today, the honorable member for Butambala is raising my same argument which I used and he defeated. The same one. Actually, he must have listened to me very carefully. And I used the same argument to try and urge members, say these matters are urgent. Can we deal with them now? And you flatly said no. Today, I am now being told that these matters are urgent and important, and we must debate them. Really? Really? What has changed since last week? I thought last week was more urgent than today. Really? Honorable members, let's be consistent. It helps the presiding officer. When we make these pleas to you, we mean well. We try to project, cover the image of the institution, and avoid pitfalls that could end up affecting our future engagements. That is my purpose here. And now today, I'm supposed now to say, the argument you used last week, use it now. When it failed to work last week. Please, honorable members, I really urge you. The same spirit that you used last week, that's why I am being careful about how I'm handling this matter. So I have posed a question. I am not going to use the prerogative of the Speaker to rule whether whether to support the motion or not. I'm not going to rule. I'm going to have a debate and I'll take a vote. So let's debate. Yes. Land Deputy Attorney General.
Right Honorable Speaker, I raise the mandate bestowed on me under Article 119, Clause 3 and 4 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda to give advice on the matter before you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, it has been raised that the issue before this court is sub judice.
Before this parliament?
Before parliament is sub judice. I have had the occasion to look at the report of the committee. I and the entire team of the Attorney General's chambers have looked at the report of the entire committee. We have had the occasion to look at the charge sheet. The charge sheet comprises two parts: statement of offense and particulars of offense. The statement is elaborate, the particulars are detailed. Having looked at them and subjecting what we have read to the sub judice rule, which I want to quote verbatim for honorable members to appreciate what we are doing. Right Honorable Speaker, the sub judice rule states, Rule 72, subject to Rule 5 of this rule, a member shall not refer to any matter which is sub judice. 72 sub Rule 2, a matter shall be considered sub judice if it refers to active criminal or civil proceedings in the opinion of the Speaker, the discussion of such a matter is likely to prejudice its fair determination. Rule 72.3. In determining whether a criminal or civil proceeding is active, the following shall apply. A. Criminal proceedings shall be deemed to be active when a charge has been made or a summons to appear has been issued by court. I will stop there for some time and tell you that having looked at the charge sheet, the statement of the offense, the particulars of the offenses, having scrutinized the report of the committee, there is no way, Right Honorable Speaker, we can debate this report without infringing upon the sub judice rule. No way. The opinion I'm giving
Honorable members, can we, because I am able to deal with these things, please. Give me a chance to deal with it.
The opinion I'm giving is based on the fact that having scrutinized the report We are of the opinion that we cannot sever and say that these elements of the report don't offend against the sub judice rule, and these elements offend against the sub judice rule. The report is intertwined. It has to be taken as one. Right Honourable Speaker, I'm inviting you, considering that it is not possible for this House to sever, it is not possible for you, Right Honourable Speaker, to determine what members will say in the debates. It is not possible for you, Right Honourable Speaker, to know the nature of evidence the prosecution and the defense intend to adduce.
Point of order.
That's what I said, both the prosecution and the defense.
Point of order.
Right Honourable Speaker, again it disturbs when the Attorney General of a country avoids the real questions and controversy. As his client, General Tumwine, I respect you on matters of art, not law. Please respect me in my area also. Mr. Speaker, if my statement, Mr. Speaker, is offensive to my brother, if the statement is offensive to my brother, the Honorable Tumwine, oh, I'm told he's my father, even when we are still here together, I will even take it in good faith and say, I am sorry if you find it offensive that I respect your profession. Mr. Speaker, I expect any lawyer worth a name who is giving an opinion to a client that we happen to be to make reference to the specifics where he thinks the rule will be offended. One, is torture an ingredient of the offense called treason? Is torture part of the evidence that will necessarily be laid or may necessarily be laid in proving or disproving the offense of treason? If you say it is likely to be, then you're speculating and thereby offending the rules of the House. The rule that my brother, or now my father, the Honorable Tumwine has read, my brother, the Honorable Kutan has read, makes a reference to the opinion of the Speaker. Now, the Speaker is in the chair. The Speaker, being misled by the Attorney General, has not been supplied with that copy of the charge sheet the Attorney General is talking about. Indeed, he has not written an opinion. He has been absent. He has not been on any charges. So he has not explained where he has been. Is he therefore in order in doing the following? One, failing in his duty to write an opinion to this House. B, and the Honorable Mwesige, I have immense respect for you. I have never known you to be a heckler. Now, without placing the charge sheet before you, Mr. Speaker, they want to tempt you, or in tempting you to make a finding that the members will debate in a manner that will offend the rule. And therefore I must stop, one, the reading of the report, two, the debating, without even giving an opportunity for the report to be read, for the Speaker to be able to discern, don't debate this aspect, to the extent that it will offend the law. I have seen attorneys general in this country. I have seen one who wrote an opinion that the levels of equality before innocence are different. They have ended badly. And to my brother, the Honorable Rukutana, I don't want you to end badly simply because you confused and abused your intelligence. Is he in order, Mr. Speaker?
Honorable members, the point is a point of order. Whether the Land Deputy Attorney General is in order to fail in his duty of giving an opinion. I thought that is what he was attempting to do here. That was my understanding, that is exactly what he was trying to do in the opinion of the Attorney General, and he articulated it. To the extent that refers to a debate, there is no debate. There is no report that has been presented, so there is no debate. The issue I am seeking concurrence on, because of the nature of this issue, is on the procedural matter raised by the member for Honorable Kafuzi Jackson of Chaka South. And he raises the point that even a move, going by the title of this report, the move to present it, first of all, the matter is, part of it is already overtaken by events. And then secondly, whatever has remained is sub judice. That is what he raised. And I have declined, because of the nature of this thing, to have this matter discussed before I make my ruling. To have this matter shared properly, and then I make my ruling. Honorable members, when I went to law school, they used to teach things about cause and effect. Things about causation. I don't know what is still the same, but that's what I was taught. That there's something like cause and effect, which I was hoping the land people would have helped me with, so that I would be guided properly. But since I seem to have been left on my own, let me guide as follows. Cause. What caused the effect? If there are allegations of the offense of treason and the activities associated with the act constituting the offense, did it in any way cause what is being referred to in the secondary issue of the effect of what happened? If it does, is there a correlation that cannot be severed? Just thinking. So if I am being, of course I will never be, forcefully arrested on suspicion of the commission of an offense, and going by my nature, and if I felt I was not really guilty of anything, I could engage. And if I did, and in the process we exchanged and I got some, would it be related to the commission of the act I am being accused of? Just thinking. So can you sever a discussion of cause and discuss the effect, or can you discuss the effect without discussing the cause?
Right Honorable Speaker, that is why we are blessed to have a very brilliant speaker in you. If I had not been interrupted, I wanted to tell this House that from our assessment, having looked at both the charge sheet and the report, we are of the informed opinion that the entire process of criminal prosecutions that is going ahead, the allegations of torture all impinge on the manner of arrest, which is a direct beginning of the entire process of criminal prosecution.
Point of order.
I looked at the report, I looked at the charge sheet as I told you.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, we rise and fall as one people. We rise and fall as one nation. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue we are talking about, let me start from what you said. This country has enough space for all of us. That's what you said. And from there, I had to wipe my tears and I said, surely he has finished it. Right Honorable Speaker, from what you spoke and the last week, struggling with why we needed to discuss honestly matters relating to our well-being and also our privileges and how members are handled and so on. I listened to you attentively and said, I'm giving 2 days for the government to respond. We came here, Right Honorable Speaker, today, and government responded.
No, that is not what I said. I never said anything like that.
No, when we are suspending Parliament on Tuesday.
I never said anything like that. I never said anything like that.
Right Honorable Speaker, my understanding was that the 2 days that you said, okay, we meet on Tuesday, would be today that we receive a report, at least a report from His Excellency the President. A report came from the Minister, Right Honorable Speaker, which actually reported in entirety in my thought, I'm not disputing your ruling, was his report was more bordering on sub judice. And in your clever ruling, wise ruling, you said, well, we will allow debate, but where it is so much, where debate is bordering so much onto sub judice, I will stop a member. In my understanding, Right Honorable Speaker, the report of Parliament is not even any close to sub judice, because we are looking at privileges of members, we are looking at how they are treated, probably where their rights respected, their whereabouts, some of them have been overtaken by events, right? Now, Right Honorable Speaker, the report which is to come on the floor of Parliament, some people could have read it already on the iPad, has become an issue in context and content for the learned Attorney General to make reference. You have just said causation is never correlation. That's my understanding in science. That's pure science. Causation is not correlation.
I didn't say that.
Well, you said for you are looking at causation and effects, yes. But in science we say causation is not correlation. And the two things are disconnected. Right, Honorable Speaker?
Remember, the two concepts are extremely different. Please don't... I like you repeating my words.
Now, therefore, the point of order I'm raising here, Right, Honorable Speaker, is it in order for the learned Attorney General to stand here and make reference to a report that he says he looked at by the way, which is not authoritatively yet laid on the floor of Parliament. To be laid on the floor of Parliament, it must be read, and then the judgment of the Speaker comes on to guide whether we should debate it, whether it borders on sub judice. Is he in order to continue relying on that report, which never has been presented on the floor of Parliament, as a point for him to misguide even the side of government, and now is importing his misguidance even to the floor of Parliament, which is led by you, a very capable lawyer, I think much even better than him. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members, you know, when somebody selects words to use, if you have to quote them, quote them. But if you try to paraphrase, at least be close to what that person said. I like what you said about we rise and fall together. That is very pessimistic. I prefer you to put it the other way. We fall and rise together. That is more, yes, we fall and rise together. That is more optimistic. And that has been the thing about this country. It falls, it rises. It falls, it rises, and we rise together. But that said, honorable members, really, we are where we are just because a member raised a procedural matter. And we are trying to find a solution to how to deal with that. And the procedural matter, he raised it, it's here. I have to rule. And I'm saying I need assistance. I need to understand where we are on this, and then I rule. Because he says, what I have been repeating now, if I do it, it will be the fourth time. That is the procedural matter he raised. And that is what the Attorney General is responding to. And that's what all of us are responding to. So nobody is talking about a presented report or an unpresented report. We're just dealing with the issue of procedure raised and the explanations raised. Yes, Rute.
Much obliged, Rhetorical Speaker.
Please finish. Please.
I was still giving my opinion.
No, I really wish you could listen to the Land Attorney General. Let him wind up, then we can proceed.
Rhetorical Speaker, in our considered opinion, the allegations of torture, which are the subject matter of this report, have a direct correlation with the mode of arrest and bringing to court of the suspects. The mode of arrest, for anybody who knows criminal proceedings, has a direct correlation on the judgment that the court is likely to give. Having assessed all that situation in its entirety, there is no way we can sit here, debate how the accused persons were arrested, how they were treated, how they were eventually charged, without infringing on the outcome of the case or the cases before the court. And that is exactly what Rule 72 is meant to protect. I am giving this as a professional opinion pursuant my mandate given to me by the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, to which all of us must bow.
Order. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker and members, as you might be aware, I'm one of the appellants in the Supreme Court case Honorable Sechkubo Theodore, Honorable Barnabas Tinkasimire, Honorable Muhammad Nsereko, Honorable Wilfred Nwagaba, versus the NRM and amongst others, the Attorney General. And one of the issues then is the decision and opinion of the Attorney General binding on Parliament. And it was settled that the opinion, the advice of the Attorney General has no binding on the Speaker of Parliament. And now, just now, the learned Attorney General is taking us for a ride that he is giving his opinion by virtue of the Constitution, citing Article 119 amongst others. Is the right Attorney General, Speaker, in order to miss this House on a matter that was determined and decided by the Supreme Court of this country? Is in order.
Honorable members, the article referred to is Article 119 and 119A. There shall be an Attorney General who shall be a cabinet minister appointed by the President with approval of Parliament. And then that's qualification. The Attorney General shall be the principal legal advisor of the government. The functions of the Attorney General shall include the following: to give legal advice and legal services to the government on any subject. And the other one is on agreements, to represent government, to perform such other functions. Yes, that's what it says. So the issue of whether the opinion of the Attorney General is binding or not does not arise, because all he has to do is to give that opinion, and up to people to apply it. But he has given his opinion. So if we go against it, we would have gone against an opinion already given. So there's no problem. So,
Right Honourable Speaker, to conclude this matter, I want to put it on record that as Attorney General and Attorney General's chambers, our full-time occupation is to apply our minds to the interpretation of the law so that we can adequately advise government and all government agencies. I have rendered our considered opinion and advice. The advice is very well researched and grounded. There is no way we can debate this report without infringing upon Rule 72 of our rules of procedure. I rest my case.
Yet, Honorable Odu.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to address you and also persuade you on 3 points regarding the procedural matter raised by my brother, Honorable Kafuzi. First of all, the rule on sub judice was brought in because governments and the state by then could control information. It was in the era where there was only one broadcaster giving information to the whole country. But in this era of social media, of information,
Point of order. Point of order.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, 2 weeks ago, the Honorable Odul was on the floor here, and he alleged that Bobi Wine, Honorable Chagulanyi, was dead. So, and was executed. So, are we proceeding well to allow that honorable member to mislead the House again? Thank you, Right.
Honorable members, that's why I insist on consistency. Honorable member for Erute actually made those statements. And he continued to say that they were not producing Honorable Chagulanyi because he had been executed and they were fearing. And that is on the record of Parliament. Would you like to start with that?
Thank you very much. Before I proceed to address the House on the issue of prejudice, I would want to correct the record. I rose on a point of information. At that time, we had a number of information moving the country. One of them, it is on record on social media, included torture, included the possible death, included the execution and the arrest of members of parliament. And I challenge government that to deal with this matter, why don't you come on the floor and present to us information that is accurate so that the country cannot be in anxiety. And only 5 minutes after that, the leader of government business, General Moses Ali, came and clarified that, members, I want to inform you that no death has occurred. But I can confirm that Bobi Wine was transported in a military chopper and is receiving treatment, meaning that something had happened to him. It was clarified here. So, Mr. Speaker, I now beg to proceed to address you on the issue of prejudice. I was raising, Mr. Speaker, that prejudice, at that time when the law came in effect, it was possible for the state to control how information goes to the public. But now in this era, where the public, there is social media, and people can discuss, the law of prejudice cannot apply in this moment. Secondly, judicial officers who decide our cases, and this is a strong point, judicial officers that decide our cases are under obligation to consider only facts that are before them, not facts that are discussed outside court. If a judicial officer is going to decide, even though they sat in a bar, even though they have witnessed what happened, a judicial officer cannot bring that as evidence and say, I'm going to convict you because I was there, I saw it. The judicial officer relies on what is stable before them. And in this case, I want to assume that the judges that we have in this country are people of sound mind. They are independent under Article 128. Whatever we discuss here has no bearing on how they decide. If that were the case, you know very well that by now, so many judgments that came out has vindicated that whatever we discuss here or pass cannot hold. I beg to submit, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order.
Right Honorable Speaker, all of us in this house have gone to school. And the rules are very clear. Rule 72 on sub judice rule. The Honorable Odul is arguing as if he is suspending our very rules because the rules are very elaborate. So is it in order to stand on the floor of Parliament and challenge a rule which is written in our own rules that it has no effect at all when it is very clear written in Rule 72 is in order to mislead the public on sub judice.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, laws are implemented as they are, not as they ought to be, or not as anybody would have wished it to be. Laws are laws, and the only thing you do with them is respect them. We reviewed our rules of procedure recently, and we maintained the rule and actually explain and enlarge better the rule on sub judice. The political economy you have given to this particular rule does not hold any water either in history or in fact, because the rule on sub judice applies internationally. Decisions of parliament can impact on what goes on in the courts of law. Debates in parliament can impact on what goes on in terms of evidence in the courts of law. And that is what this rule seeks to regulate. That you can do whatever you want to do in the House, but leave whatever is already before the other branch of government. Give it the independence to deal with it properly. And that's what it is. It's all about separation of powers and respect for the different arms of government. It has nothing to do with what you have just stated. Yes. Yes. There is no procedure. We're looking for opinion. There is a procedural point that is outstanding.
Mr.
Yes.
Speaker,
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the magnanimity with which you have guided us. Under normal circumstances, when the issue of sub judice is raised, it is entirely your prerogative to give your guidance based on your opinion. And I'm only here to persuade you to decline to agree with the Deputy Attorney General for the following reasons.
Point of order.
You know I'm different from you. From me, I see.
The Honorable Segona is one of the lawyers who have been paid hefty sums of money to represent the accused persons. He has not declared his interest to this House as is required by the rules. Is he in order to raise and debate on a matter in which he has a direct personal interest?
Honorable, would you like to explain?
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much again for giving me an opportunity to make a clarification on matters raised, since we are in Parliament, not based on ignorance, but based on lack of information. Again, for the same reasons that the Deputy Attorney General has no patience to look at the report that we wrote as the ad hoc committee. If he had taken the time, as he said they have researched, to read, he would have found out from that very report that when we were in Gulu and blocked by the military from accessing the members we had gone to access, the member we had gone to access and the military, I was asked to offer pro bono legal services. It is in that report. I am conversant and fairly schooled in the rules of our rules of procedure. They make reference, and I agree with him, to pecuniary interest. Now, as to whether I have made hefty sums of money or anything akin to that, it would actually be my wish that I would make hefty sums of money, be like him, except to the extent that I would not want to be arraigned before the anti-corruption court. I offered my services pro bono to a colleague after all other members had been blocked from accessing, and the military made only one offer: we can only allow lawyers. My colleague, the Honorable Wasali Wasman, and I were the only lawyers amongst members of Parliament that could be allowed to access, and because of the dire need to access the member and report to Parliament, I offered pro bono. I want to challenge the Deputy Attorney General, together with the entire intelligence that could be feeding or misadvising him, to produce just one single receipt where I acknowledged the receipt of money from a client who was not even free to instruct me at the point. So the purpose was to enter the barracks and see if the member was actually alive. So I have never taken or received a coin from this gentleman. And for members that lack the humane element, which I consider to be basic in humankind, yes, the Deputy Attorney General would be right to assume, and a presumption which is rebuttable, that everybody must do anything solely for money. I decline to subscribe to that with immense respect. Thank you.
Honorable members, the point of order was to the effect that the Honorable Member, Honorable Segona, was counsel to one of the people affected and is appearing in these cases, and that he has been paid. And that he comes to debate against our rules because he has not declared his interest. If he had, he would not have been in violation of the rules. Honorable members, the purpose of these rules were supposed to help members who have interests of a nature that pecuniary in nature, to just alert his or her colleagues that, you know, this matters, I have interest, and in the process either say no, I will withdraw, or please record my interest that I have interest, and then they know, then they handle you accordingly. This one, honorable member says he does not have any pecuniary interest. But to settle the minds of the members, I think it would have been okay to say, honorable members, I am a lawyer, I am representing this thing, but this matter is pro bono. I'm not being paid, but I'm just doing it out of kindness and good heart, and nobody's paying me. I have no pecuniary interest on this matter. But also now when you debate, you also have the background of knowing that you are actually representing one of the people. So you bear that in mind also when you articulate the issues. Please.
To thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your guidance. My thinking had been, perhaps I was wrong, that because it is disclosed in the report that I offered pro bono, my thinking was that my colleagues would read this. Now that he did not, let me declare, yes, under those circumstances, I did represent my colleagues. I have no pecuniary interest at all. Thank you very much, and you have the liberty to find out.
Please wind up.
Mr. Speaker, I had finished thanking you for your magnanimity, because ordinarily you could have decided this without our input. Let me repeat, and perhaps for the last time. Number one, I agree that in criminal law, the case has ingredients. Ingredients of treason are known, and you can only prove those ingredients in the charge sheet. That members did A, B, C, D as contained in the charge sheet, and you prove. So anyone who seeks to lead evidence or talk about those ingredients, I will not stand with that. However, The issue of whether these members were ever tortured is not anywhere in court. Not even the issue whether they were tortured during arrest, by the way. That one is also not anywhere in court. There is only one thing, that those suspects committed acts that amount to treason. Now, Mr. Speaker, the way we decide how to proceed with this debate breaks or makes us as Parliament. I am one of those that agreed with you, as I'm bound, that we must let the minister put on table what he has. It is only to that extent that you determine whether his statement offends the rule of sub judice. And indeed, we allowed him. I regret that there was some hiccups. He presented his. The second, I thought he was more than that. But
Point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I have much respect for my colleague Honorable Segona, but the issue we are discussing is whether we should proceed with the report of the ad hoc committee, where actually he was a member. Wouldn't it be very smooth for a member of the committee to really give chance to the House, and we decide whether we are going to move ahead with this report or not? Is he really in order to debate, to coerce members whether they should debate his report or not? I beg, is he in order?
Honorable members, the rules are very strict on members of committees participate in reports that have produced. Actually, the rules prohibit that. But we are not debating a report. We are not debating a report. Please wind up, Honorable Segona.
what we are seeking to do, as you permitted us graciously, is to persuade you with our various points of view. And that's what I'm doing. Now, first, the duty is incumbent on the Attorney General, who is telling you that the matter is or will be sub judice, to put that charge sheet before you for you to be able to make the decision. However, us knowing that torture is not an ingredient of treason, it becomes overly suspicious for anyone to say it will cross in the red line into sub judice. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, as you said, this is the last forum of debate. There are many people that have been tortured out there. And after torturing them, they are presented to court, and the courts convict them. I would not have a problem with convicting a person who is tortured, at least for purposes of this forum, being convicted if the ingredients of treason are found. But it is overly inexcusable that the government can stand in the way against torture. The resistance and the force with which my colleagues across the other side, some of them, are calling upon you not to allow this debate on torture, again, is overly suspicious. The circumstances are extraordinary, and they call for extraordinary patience and extraordinary measures. Does it not surprise everyone that in matters of arrest of civilians, it is the minister responsible for the soldiers speaking? Does it not trigger, colleagues, your suspicion that there is a problem, that there is an issue to be discussed? The minister responsible for internal affairs, in charge of the police, which ought to have arrested or probably arrested these people, is quiet on this matter. But it's the Minister of State. It's a matter where we passed a law not long ago in Parliament against torture, because apparently the debate is about torture. They're not even allowing us to talk about whether actually the suspects were in Gulu. They are not bothered about that term of reference. But, no. And you see, I can even receive information. If you permit me, I'll receive his information. It is okay.
Right Honorable Speaker, you recall that 2 weeks ago when we issued this statement, we made it very clear that it was a joint statement of the security ministries, including Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Security, and Ministry of Defense. And we stand by the contents of that statement. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Speaker, how I was brought up is to thank people for what they give me. I want to thank my colleagues. I want to thank you for the information because that's how I was brought up. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Mr. Speaker, the only way you can be satisfied that the matter is sub judice is somebody being specific by telling you, A, when you look at paragraph this of the charge sheet, the particulars of the offense point to torture, for example. To that extent, Mr. Speaker, strike out everything called torture from this report and do not allow a debate. If only colleagues could be persuaded to have the report laid and read, then when people are crossing into the area of sub judice, it has always been your duty, and you have done it perfectly. Just the same way you guided us with the minister's statement. May I persuade you, Mr. Speaker, that you permit the report to be read and guide it as you have always guided, but not a blanket refusal. Otherwise, why do we go out and use public resources? We would be going to the Attorney General. And let me wind up this point, Mr. Speaker, by reminding Parliament and the nation. This is the very reason we have always protested against the Attorney General being a member of Cabinet. I have immense respect for the provision of the Constitution that is what it is. In the future, we should look at it again. Why? Because the Attorney General now is already bound by the statements of his colleagues. He's a minister in Cabinet. They have justified whatever transpired. So, well, he says he has not heard me. I would advise in the future that when he's in Parliament, he takes time to listen. Thank you.
Honorable members, honorable members, honorable members, honorable members, please. When I say honorable members, I am not calling for motions, I am not calling for procedural matters. I want to make a statement. Honorable members, we have come this far because of the point of procedure raised by the Honorable Kafuzi. What would have guided me on the issue that is raised by the Honorable Member, like I said, would have been a quick look at what the documents in court say, then I would be properly guided. But I have not had the opportunity to look at it. I am not able, therefore, to at this moment deal with this matter. But I've had all the submissions from you, honorable members, which has been very helpful, which has been very helpful, which has been very, very helpful. So what I'm going to do is to pause this matter now here, and then I come back tomorrow and rule on it. I would have looked at the charge sheet and I looked at all the documents that are related. I would then be able to guide the House on how we proceed with this matter. It will be tomorrow. Thank you. Can we deal with the next item, if we can conclude that item 5, so that tomorrow we proceed with other matters? Item 5. Honorable members, in the public gallery this afternoon, we have students and teachers from Hillside Primary School, Kapchorwa District